Hello, everyone. My name is Matt, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to Home Gym Forge. Home Gym Forge is a new site that I've created to help people choose the best equipment for and design the layouts of their home gyms. In this video, we're going to go through a full site tour showing off all the features of the site, including equipment discovery, comparison, build lists with budgeting, and also a 3D modeling tool to help you understand how everything will fit in your room before you pull the trigger on that purchase. So today, HomeGymForge.com is live and available for you to use, but I'd consider it a work in progress and an early version of the site because I still have a lot more features and equipment that I would like to add. So I'd love for you to give me as much feedback as you can. And I really built this tool for the community. So I hope you use it as such. And without further ado, let's get into the site tour. All right. So starting the tour here on the home page, we have a couple of buttons to start building or browse equipment. Those will both bring you to these other tabs at the top. So let's click Start Building. And this will bring up a fresh, clean slate of a build. And first thing I like to do here is to set a budget to keep myself honest. And then that'll be tracked across this page, the Browse Equipment page, and also in the 3D Space tool. So I like to add flooring first, but you can see there's a huge long list of all different types of equipment you can add. And this is where your build will be stored and where you can save it and load other builds that you may have saved as well. So starting with flooring, there's several types of subflooring here. And we have all the different equipment categories and subcategories again on this side panel. So I'm going to choose rubber tiles. I can choose it here or here. And from there, you get a list. Again, there's a lot more flooring to add, but this is a starting point. And what I can do is I can sort by price per square foot. I can sort by thickness. Maybe I want 3/8 of an inch, and I definitely want a 2x2 tile, and I want something that's rubber and not foam. So I can choose between these two options here, and then I can look over and see that this option has a lower price per square foot. So I'll select that, and then I can choose which color I like. So I'll choose Firestorm Red, and that add one of those tiles to my build. And I'll show you later how you can add exactly the right number of tiles you need to cover your floor. So now if I go back to my build summary, that choice has been made and been added to my list. And I can continue adding power racks and other equipment. So there's many types of racks here, but I'll just choose a standard power rack, which is a 4 or 6 post. Half racks and full racks are both here. And these have a lot of configuration. So I'll choose one to show you the configuration. So the RM3 from Rogue. You can look at the listing photos. You can compare all of the stats here, and you can see the price and the configuration options down below. So I can then go ahead and choose all the options I want. It says most of these colors are only available for 90-inch uprights and above, so that's something to consider. If you have a low ceiling, you can only choose a textured black or satin black uprights. So I'll choose a bright blue, and then I'll make sure that in the next option for rack height, I'll choose 90 to best reflect that price delta that I'm doing there. 24-inch or 30-inch depth, I'll choose 30, and the rest I will leave default. These options I'll leave default, but you can see that $240 from those additional options I've selected will be added onto the base price of the rack, and I can add that to my build. I can also see a price history tracker down here. This piece has been fairly consistent, it looks like, but this is something I'm hoping to be able to show potential sales and what times of the year might be best to buy. You can also set a price alert for items. So if I want to see when this rack goes below 1450, let's say, I can set that, and then I'll get a notification when that happens. Below that, you can see I have an expert reviews and our user reviews section here. So here's a review from Hybrid Resistance. Mike has been a great resource for me building the site. I've spoken to a lot of the YouTube reviewer community in building Home Gym Forge, and they've been very supportive. So here's one review from Mike. And there's also a user reviews section, which is where if you have an RM3, you could write your own review. And those obviously have not started yet, but this is where they would live as well. So I'm going to add this to my build. And then if I go back to my build summary, sure enough, it's there. I'm going to add a few more things and then show you the 3D space tool as well. So let's add a bench. I'll add an adjustable bench, and here I'll show off comparison tool. So maybe I'm not sure between the Prime Shorty and the ABX and the Apex bench. All of these have some ecosystems associated with them. So I can do a comparison and then see all their specs side by side, and their dimensions and what their leg design is, and an extended list of their specs. I can look through their photos as well here, and maybe I'll choose just the ABX for now, and add that to my build, and that again will go into here. And if I'm building onto an existing gym, let's say I'm buying a new bench, but I already own the flooring and the rack, I can mark those both as purchased, and then down here my budget will reflect that I only need to spend an additional 600 because I've already spent the money on the racks and the flooring. So okay, let's keep it there for now, and I save this build as Home Gym Forge intro. Save that, and then I get a couple more options here. So I can publish this to the community, or I can just share it with my friends. So if I just want to share it with a few people, I can generate a code and a link and share it with a couple people. If I want to publish it to the whole community, I can write up a description. I can add up to 10 photos, and I can also do a YouTube video if I have a build guide or something. And then I can publish that to the Browse Builds tab. So I have an area here for the influencers to submit their own builds, and you guys can go off their curated lists of equipment. Or the Community Builds tab, I have one here of build I've created, and you can see that it shows you the full budget for the build, what pieces were in that one, and I can then import that. And then once I import it, it comes into my loaded saved builds here, and I can modify it further from there if I want, or use it as is. So one thing with the influencer builds here is if you use their builds, you're supporting them because the affiliate revenue generated from using their build will go directly to them. But another way you can support the influencers is up in your accounts settings, and you can support influencers and choose exactly who you'd like to support. So I'll be splitting affiliate revenue with the gym equipment reviewers community, and they've been very helpful to me. So, and I hope that I can build this tool and community with them, so that we can both support each other. So that's where you can do that. Also here you can see some stats about how many builds you have and equipment items, and what brands are your favorite based on how many items you've put into your build from each brand. And then eventually I'll have a money saved tally based on the discount codes that we'll be having on the site in the future. And this is also where you can see how much you've supported the influencers that you choose on the previous tab there. Okay, so let's go back to our intro build here, and let me show you the 3D space tool, because this is really why I built Home Gym Forge in the first place. And you can kind of see that you get a fresh blank build here. You can look at it in 3D, you can look at it in 2D, you can change all the dimensions, and you can make a crazy room shape if you like. You can drag these corners around to whatever room shape you have. But for now, let's keep it simple and do a standard 20 by 16 rectangular room. And first thing you'd like to do is add in your flooring. So I'll add a flooring tile, and you can see how doing this one at a time would get a little bit tedious. So instead, what I've done is I've created this flooring calculator, and the system calculates your room floor area based on the dimensions and the walls you've put in. And you can say, I want to cover the 100% of the floor. How many tiles do I need? I need 80. Each one is 4 square feet. So 80 times 4, 320. So it knows I need 80, and now I have 80 in my build. And then I can also autofill the room. So doing that makes it a lot easier to fill out your entire gym floor with the flooring that you've selected. Then it gets a little bit annoying if you want to move other things around on top of the flooring and you're constantly clicking on the flooring. So you can come over here and lock the flooring. And now when I click around, I don't get that. So I can start moving in my other equipment. I can move my RM3 and my ABX bench. And you obviously are seeing that these are just rectangular prisms for now. I'd like to work with the equipment manufacturers to use their real 3D models of the equipment so that they look like they would in real life. And I'm making progress towards that. So there's another few things I'd like to show. So if I make these touch each other, there'll be collision and they both turn red. But if I want, I can turn that off. So if I want to put the bench inside the rack, as you often would, without a collision being detected, I can do that. I can also show a grid and snap to the grid as well. And it's a little easier to show in 2D. So if I move my bench out and around, it's snapping to this grid. It's a little hard to see, but if I move it a little bit, you can see it snap back to the grid lines. It'll also show that there's 4 dimension lines. Whenever you make a move, you can see how far away from each wall the piece is. You can do the same with the ceiling. So if I go back into here, I can choose a ceiling height, and then the room will adjust. All right, so a couple more things I want to show. One is obstacles. So these are all the other things in your gym that are not equipment. And many people are building garage gyms. So you can put a garage rail on both sides and a garage door opener. And those will stay stuck to the ceiling. So if I put my ceiling height back to 8 feet, those will adjust just like that. There are other things that stick to the ceiling. And then there's also things that stick to the wall. So these cabinets will stick to the wall. You can put in windows. I even put in vehicles here. If you want to show how using your garage might change when you introduce your gym. That SUV barely fits. These kind of look funny as well. We'll be getting better models of those over time. So that's most of what I wanted to show in the 3D Gym Space Builder. The last tab here is the brands tab. And this is also a bit of a work in progress, but it shows all the brands that I've loaded into the site and some details about them, where they make their equipment, where they ship to, their website, and then some stats about them that I'd like the community and especially the YouTuber community to help me fill in so that I'm not biased filling these in, and we can get a more democratic assessment of some of these build quality and customer service and assembly specs here. Okay, so that concludes the tour of HomeGymForge.com. Thank you for watching, and please give me your feedback on what you think of the site.